Hello and welcome to another video on the JJ Think Tank. I hope you're doing well today. I didn't sleep much last night, so I'm a bit hazy, a bit wavy, a bit hazy, but I'd like to record this video today for you. And the topic of discussion will be the righteous mind. Is the left-right model outdated? And this video and the article I wrote here, that is on the screen before you now, is based on this book by Jonathan Haidt, The Righteous Mind, Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion. So here I've got the book, and it really is a brilliant book. At times I didn't agree with Jonathan Haidt's thesis. I'll go into more detail as we progress. But yes, it was a brilliant book because it highlights how a lot of the conflict that we see in the modern world is a result of people feeling that they are morally, ethically superior, yes, to their opponent. Whereas in actual fact, usually it's just the arguments, the conflict is due to a misunderstanding or a lack of communication, yes. And here I would say that dialectics plays an important role. And this is why I am a massive fan and a proponent of the dialectical method, because it's a brilliant way to resolve conflict and reach the higher good, yes, and reach the truth, we could say, yes, about our current reality, about our current political situation, and so forth, yes. So I will link my talk here, my speech, to some personal anecdotes in my life. So my family is quite divided when it comes to politics, definitely, and my extended family as well is quite divided. And it's a pity because it has led to our different families not really communicating with each other, yes. I won't go into details, but in general, there's just a lack of communication between family members, and both within my own family and between various families in my extended family, yes. So this is a pity because ultimately, if we are divided, then we are weaker, yes. We should strive to reach the middle, to reach a compromise, to be diplomatic, but unfortunately, many people are stuck in their ways. They have this righteous mind that Jonathan Haidt talks about. I've been a victim of this as well. Not a victim. I've been a person like this in the past as well. I won't deny this. Many times in the past, in my narcissistic sense of superiority, I would believe that yes, I am in the right. I am not a sinner. I am ethically superior, morally superior. I perceive reality more accurately. But of course, this is nonsense. Yes, this is a delusion. Of course, I have my views, but I constantly question myself. Yes, I constantly reflect on my views and update them really with the current state of reality. And I think this is an important process. I disagree with the people who say that those who change their views often are hypocrites or are idiots. I believe this is a good trait. It shows that you are a thinking person, that you are a feeling person as well, that you have feelings, yes, you have empathy, and that therefore, yes, that you are on the right path, we could say, yes. You are getting closer to the truth. And I guess an important way in reaching the truth or being close to the truth is by exposing yourself, yes, to different points of view, not being close-minded, appreciating those perspectives of people who are different from you and who perhaps have completely different views to you, yes, and this is a positive mode of action to take. So let's go into my article now, and I'll begin by reading this quote by Jonathan Haidt, and it goes as follows. Nonetheless, if you are trying to change an organization or society and you do not consider the effects of your changes on moral capital, you are asking for trouble. This, I believe, is the fundamental blind spot of the left. It explains why liberal reforms so often backfire and why communist revolutions usually end up in despotism. And if we analyse this passage by Jonathan Haidt, basically what he's saying, I think, is that if you believe that you are in the right, if you believe that your ethnic tribe is in the right, yes, that you are morally superior, and that you do not see the moral imperfections in your own tribe, in yourself, then this can lead to dangerous consequences, yes, to radicalism and a kind of dehumanization of the other. And a result of this, if policies are made that are a result of this kind of righteous mind, yes, this moralizing, then it's possible that they could backfire, as Jonathan Haidt wrote down here, yes. We have seen in the past, obviously, communist revolutions, they ended up in despotism, yes. A lot of people lost their lives, they were butchered because they did not agree with the new status quo. And history teaches us all these lessons, and we need to remember about history, and this is why history is so important, because we can avoid the same mistakes. So now, returning to the title of my article, is the left-right model outdated? So this is a rhetorical question, obviously. Some believe yes, others no. Personally, I believe it is outdated now, because after listening to perspectives from different camps, yes, whether they be religious camps, ethnic camps, economic camps, yes, economic camps even, I noticed that many of these camps, they actually share the same views, and therefore, really, a lot of the conflicts, firstly, are unnecessary, and secondly, they should be judged on a case-by-case basis. So, in some instances, people from different camps will agree, but on other issues, on other cases, on other controversies or controversial topics, they will disagree. Yes, and this is why free speech is so important, and why democracy as well is a system that allows for change. Yes, because every 4 years we make changes in our society. So, in the past, I was actually quite anti-democratic. as I've grown older, I have noticed the positive aspects of democracy, because it's quite a flexible system that is more open to change, yes. Even though it leads to a lot of chaos, I think in the long run, a country that adopts a democratic system will flourish, yes. If obviously now the question arises, the question that arises is this one: do we live in a democracy? Obviously, many would argue that we don't, yes, because behind the facade of democracy lies the power of banks, corporations, etc., yes. But we need to believe, yes, that through the democratic process we are able to make some form of change. So anyway, let's move on now. So in the past, perhaps this was a useful model, the left-right model. Yes, it was useful in explaining and highlighting different opinions. But now, as I alluded to, it's probably outdated. Yes. Jonathan Haidt, in his book, he talks about how, or well, not how, but he explains how the moral compass arose in humanity, and he kept referring to evolution and Darwinian theory to explain this. Here, I disagree with him. I don't think morality is a result of evolution and Darwinian theory. I think that is completely wrong. I think a sense of morality is derived from the great historical figures of the past. Yes, so Jesus Christ, he was the most moral and ethical person to have ever lived, because he completely gave up his life for the other and for humanity. He through his death and resurrection, he redeemed the whole of humanity. Yes. So I mean, I don't agree here, obviously, but not even Jesus. Yes. If you're not Christian, which I understand, we have to be tolerant. Yes. If you're not Christian, then it doesn't matter. By Christian, I mean, it doesn't. You don't have to be Orthodox, Catholic. Just a Christian, in your heart. Yes, you believe in Jesus. Yes, but even if you're not a Christian, there are other examples. Yes, we got Buddha was a great moral figure, I believe, and obviously other famous saints, people who gave up their lives for another person. Yes, so. For example, Maximilian Kolbe springs to mind. He was a Polish priest. Maximilian Kolbe. He was a German-Polish priest who gave up his life for another man in a German death camp of Auschwitz. So, people like this can teach us how to be moral, yes? He was a real martyr. Unfortunately, I'm not on his level. I would love to be, but I know myself well. I know that unfortunately, I cannot reach these heights. Perhaps in the future, God will provide some grace and change me. But I am not on his level. Yes. So here we can see, if we read, Kolbe was declared a martyr of charity. The Catholic Church venerates him as the patron saint of amateur radio operators, drug addicts, political prisoners, families, journalists, and prisoners. John Paul II declared him the patron of our difficult century. His feast day is 14th August, the day of his martyrdom. Yeah, so he was a great man, yes, a great man who gave up his life for another man, and through this he has achieved immortality, yes. But anyway, let's go back to my article. So this is where I really appreciated Haidt's novel attempts at explaining why liberals and conservatives differ. So he based everything on the analysis. I apologize. He based his analysis on their attitudes to 6 moral foundations. And the 6 moral foundations are care and harm. So that's one moral foundation. The other, fairness, cheating. The next one, loyalty betrayal. The following one, authority subversion. The penultimate one, sanctity degradation, and the last one, liberty oppression. So, on each of these issues, liberals and conservatives differ, yes? So, we can take the issue of the death penalty. So, the death penalty, conservatives will support the death penalty, and so they will be on the harm axis. Whereas liberals will oppose the death penalty and will be on the care axis. They see people being victims of their environment and circumstances, which is why they commit crimes. Whereas conservatives view people as having free will and therefore being accountable for their actions. So this is just one example. Obviously, there's many other ones. Then there's fairness cheating. Obviously, here I would say that both liberals and conservatives will share perhaps both paradigms. Loyalty betrayal. So conservatives will obviously lean more towards loyalty, whereas liberals will recognize not the importance, but the necessity of betrayal. Authority subversion. So conservatives perhaps will be more on the authoritative side. They will respect authority, whereas liberals will be inclined to subversion, yes, because they see that authoritative structures can be despotic, yes, and so on and so on. So he goes into depth in this book about how they differ. And it was quite enlightening when I read it. And yes, I recommend everyone to read the book, yes, to notice how we all have this righteous mind that can cloud our judgment and label and accuse the other instead of trying to reach a compromise, yes, by debating, by engaging in dialectics and so forth, yes. And here also, it was refreshing to see another academic refute the absurdities of rationalism, in this case when explaining morality. So instead, Jonathan Haidt, he emphasized the role of intuition in forming moral opinions, and recognize the importance and advantages that the conservative position has, because overall their conservative position, I wrote down here, they pay heed, yes, to all 6 foundations, whereas liberals only pay heed to 3. Now I forgot which ones they do exactly. To be accurate, I would need to read the book again. But since conservatives, they're more broad-minded when it comes to morality, this means that they notice more things taking place, and therefore they are able to warn us beforehand as to whether something bad could erupt, yes, which affects our moral capital and the political situation. When I reflect on this, I think this is true. This is true. I can think of various individuals in different countries who notice the dangers way ahead of their time. Yes. In recent history, we can think of, for example, Edmund Burke. So Edmund Burke, he was an English aristocrat, I believe, and he noticed the negative consequences of the French Revolution. So at times, obviously, conservatives they're right, yes, about different events and possible events to come in the future. So, thinking back now about the book, the last chapter, can't we all agree? Well, can't we all disagree more constructively? Was definitely by far the most interesting, and it reiterated some ideas that I came across previously. So, on some issues, conservatives are right, but on others, liberals are right. So, I gave an example of corporate superorganisms, yes? Liberals are right when they say that governments should restrain these corporate superorganisms, yes? So we have these now, these multinational corporations that are slowly, by stealth and creep, by stealth and creep, they are taking over, really. They are starting to dominate the economic sphere and lobbying the government for various policies, and therefore these actions lead to the detriment of the public good, really, because there are various negative externalities that these corporations can force on us. So think of, for example, GMO food. So a lot of the food that we eat, well, it depends on your level of income, but a lot of the food that we eat can be GMO, and also filled with pesticides, harmful substances. Yes, herbicides, pesticides. So this is one example. Another example is unregulated banking. So here, I mean, on this issue, I agree with the liberal. I agree with the liberals. So the left, the liberals, there's so many different labels, yes, but it's clear banking has to be regulated because these banks are causing havoc. They're destroying the economy through this casino capitalism, as I call it. It's a madness, yes, and yes, these are two examples. Now, libertarians. So there's a slight difference between liberals and libertarians. So libertarians really focus on the individual and believe that the individual is the supreme political and economic unit. I am not a libertarian anymore. I was when I was younger. I think everyone that goes through this phase where they're either a radical leftist or a radical libertarian. So I definitely was a libertarian when I was younger. I listened to a lot of AJ, Lord Voldemort. So if you know, he is a controversial figure in the alternative media sphere. AJ, Lord Voldemort, and he is obviously a libertarian, and I was one. But now I've definitely changed my views. I don't know how I would define myself at the moment, but I'm definitely not a libertarian anymore. But here, Jonathan Haidt believes that libertarians are correct in their worship of the free market. I'm not so sure, to be honest. I am in favour of the Scandinavian model. It's a mixture of kind of capitalism and state-directed economic growth. I think the Scandinavians have got it best. They are because the results show. Their economies, their societies are stable. Their wealth is distributed. Obviously, there's no perfect equality. There will never be perfect equality because some people are more competent and deserve, as a result, more money, yes, and a higher status. But at the same time, it's important to care about everyone in society, yes, and therefore equality is an important metric that you need to analyze, and you have to make sure that inequality doesn't rise too much. So if we look at Norway, Denmark, perhaps Finland, Sweden, all of them in the main, they are very functioning societies. Well, Sweden less so because obviously they've got this problem with immigration from Muslim countries, Islamic countries. but that was of their own doing, really. So yes, that's my opinion. Anyway, moving on. So yes, so libertarians are correct in their worship of the free market, as this is the best way of allocating resources, provided also that there is some of the aforementioned regulation. Yes, regulation is important. We can't kid ourselves, because this Wild West capitalism, it allows kind of immoral kind of psychopaths and narcissists to gain wealth at the expense of others. Yes, so when we think of, for example, Rockefeller, so he was a very immoral agent. Okay, perhaps he did build this empire of oil, based on oil and other resources, but he was very immoral, I believe, and this is not really the right way, I think, to build society. So, as I alluded to, conservatives are those who are able to detect threats to moral capital that liberals cannot perceive due to their broader moral matrix. So these are Haidt's words, Jonathan Haidt's words, and they're brilliant words, I believe. The way he was able to kind of present this idea using this sentence here was great, I thought. They are able to detect threats to moral capital, yes. So when they are able to detect these threats, they can prevent any sort of escalation, yes? Prevent a civil war or something violent from occurring. Or, in other words, they are able to connect the dots and see the broader picture. That's another way we can put it, yes? So now, at the end, I included my own kind of analysis, my own perspective on the current political and economic situation. I actually view it now as either posthuman or human. So either the system will be geared towards the welfare of humanity, or it will turn into this kind of posthuman era where only the extremely rich are able to have children, to gain wealth and power, and to find fulfillment, where the rest, as opposed to the rest of humanity who have to scavenge, yes, to have to live on crumbs. And here the kind of technocratic, transhumanist, Huxleyan, dystopian vision comes to mind, yes. So obviously, I'm sure many of my viewers have read Brave New World, and this kind of comes to mind here, right? This is possible, where we have this elite club that have access to all the resources, whereas the rest of humanity are kind of enslaved to this technocratic agenda. And so humans, they lack the dignity, yes. There's no respect and dignity of humans for their right to govern themselves, yes. Well, so by this I mean humans aren't given the opportunity anymore to decide on their future, yes. Only instead of a technocratic system that is based on AI and that decides how much each person should have, it should be based more so on what we had so far, really. A democratic model that is perhaps surveilled. There should be some surveillance of the politicians, yes, and people in power. They should be surveilled, right? Not average citizens. And yes, because this will improve the lot of general humanity, yes, of the average citizen. So this is why I'm really against globalism now, against globalization, against technocracy, because I view this as a threat to the freedom of the individual, and therefore I prefer an arrangement based on the nation state or something slightly broader, like slightly larger regions perhaps. And here the multipolar world comes to mind, yes? So we hear about multipolarity from from Dugin, yes, and other thinkers. And this is the best option, really, I believe, for humanity at this current moment in time. I don't think we are ready yet for globalization, for outright world government. I think this will be a dangerous precedent, a dangerous move, and therefore we should strive for a multipolar world where all nations are able to develop their economies and improve the lot of their citizens. So the alternative vision, the nightmare vision, is one based on AI, CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies, yes, corporate overdrive, and stifling bureaucratic managerial power. So these are the main threats, really, the main actors that could cause a lot of harm, I believe. We should be wary. We should not allow this to happen. And this is why Jonathan Haidt's book is so great, because both liberals and conservatives would agree on this, surely, right? Surely. And it doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter what skin color you have, from what, it doesn't matter where you're from, what country, etc. Your sexual preferences, etc. This is the main threat, and this should unite people to fight back. And as I wrote down here at the end, this is, in my eyes, the new division that transcends the petty differences we find in the traditional left-right model, and a threat that should unite people from across the political spectrum. Yeah. It's basically transhumanism, isn't it? You're either for transhumanism or you're against it. Really, this is how I view the current state of reality. So this is my picture. But anyway, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found out something interesting. I hope it was enlightening, and I really recommend you to read this book. You will notice the flaws in your own thinking, and perhaps this book will help you unite your family. This is currently what I'm striving to do. Trying to unite my family, my extended family, hopefully in the future as well. Because we're all in this together, really. Whether we like it or not, we may have our differences, we may hate each other sometimes, but we're all in this together, really, and we should strive to unite. Anyway, yes, that's the end of the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video, and perhaps send me a donation on Buy Me a Coffee. It will help me grow the channel and spread more vital information. All the best, and thank you for listening.